So that's just a quick overview. I won't bore you with too much on that. We have Fresh Start, we have the Circuit, and then we also have a program called NAV, North Atlanta Venture Mentoring Service. We have a couple of mentors here this morning, Treefold Gardens, Rob and Melanie, and Shalakay with Sweet Signs are here, and they are paired with mentors to help them scale and grow their business. So they're revenue producing and they're ready to take that next step. Whereas Fresh Start is geared for that business that's 5 years or younger that wants to share their challenges and have that crowdsourcing. And our partners here, we have the city and the county and the circuit and Circle of Friends. But today, we're in for a treat with Tom Kupek. He comes to the table with 30 years of experience in the medical industry field, but in more particular in the sales process. And he's going to break that down for you. He's one of our NAV mentors, and so he actually is one of Shalakay's mentors. And Mark Caldwell is also one of our mentors here with our program, but they often offer to help us outside of NAV, and so he's going to do the sales breakdown. But before we start, I do want to do introductions so that he knows who he's talking to, and he knows who the businesses are. So if you want to start, Greg?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Greg Morris. I'm with J. Galt. We are small business consultants, and we help small businesses build their business credit profile. So when they need access to capital, they don't have to go to their personal resources. So we try to separate their personal guarantees and teach the little guys how to bank like the big guys, basically.
You summed it up pretty well. I'm also with J. Galt. My name's Hampton. Basically, if you're looking to protect your personal assets while growing and expanding your business, we're the guys to talk to.
Hey, Nick Carberry with Circle of Friends, and yes, while you see a coffee shop here, this is one strand of what we do as a nonprofit here in the community to help support and better support those who have intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Kaylee Newby with Kaylee Newby Coaching and Consulting. I work with small business owners as well as corporations and nonprofits, utilizing the Enneagram as a basis for the work that I do to help support businesses, provide leadership assistance and coaching, providing a clear communication bridge between leadership and employees or teams all around. So.
Good morning, Mike Cena. I'm a fee owner, certified financial planner. And what that means for you is I don't sell insurance, annuities, or securities. I do help folks make the most of what they have, live more in the present, and feel comfortable about an unknown future.
I'm Paige Reed, and I started Limitless Disability Services 3 years ago. We're a day program for adults with special needs, and we're looking to add more services than just a day program.
I'm Rob Miller with Treefold Gardens. We grow food in our neighbors' yards here in downtown Woodstock and share it with our neighbors and our greater community. Our focus is on our neighbors in need, specifically underprivileged, those with limited access to fresh food.
I'm Melanie Jones, also with Treefold Gardens.
Good morning. My name's Darren Hibbs. I've spent the past 20 years selling things, mostly the last 20 years real estate, commercial, and residential, but I also sold databases and computer software as well.
Good morning, my name is Mark Caldwell. I'm still trying to figure out what I do when I grow up, but I'm one of the NAV mentors of the co-ed and I came here to have fun.
I'm Stone with Business Radio X, and I've spent the last 30 years buying things.
Us too.
Hi, I'm Shalakay. I'm the owner and operator of Sweet Signs Inc. Sweet Signs helps companies grow and scale using best-in-class ERP systems.
Hi, I'm Bronson. I own Polar Night IT Services, which is an IT help desk and department for your business.
I'm Vanna Hernandez, Project Manager with the Office of Economic Development. I'm Hannah Garrison. I'm the Program and Events Coordinator at co-ed.
Good morning, everybody. Heath Tippins, Vice President with the Cherokee Office of Economic Development. Thank y'all for coming.
Hi, I'm Elise. I'm the Marketing and Communications Specialist with Cohen.
Pat Batchelor, I'm an engineering recruiter.
Thank you all so much, and thank you for being here again. And Tom, if you want to come on up, I'm going to turn it over to him, let him introduce himself, give him this magical clicker, and then you're introducing.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning.
So my name is Tom Kubek. Probably repeat a little bit of things, but I spent my entire career in the medical device industry, running businesses that, for example, sold hernia mesh implants, sold feeding tubes for people that can't bite, chew, and swallow food like most of us do, chronic pain devices to treat long-term back pain, things like that. And a huge part of our business model was sales. As you can imagine, the devices are kind of profitable. And so from a business perspective, if we could hit our sales number, there was a very good chance we could deliver on the bottom line of our P&L. So it was all about driving sales. I started my career in sales, fresh out of college, did that for a number of years. Kind of grew up in marketing, if you will, product management. And then for the last half of my career, ran different businesses, owned the full P&L, which included manufacturing, R&D project portfolios, etc. But it all started with driving that sales. So I've hired salespeople, fired salespeople. We've built sales teams. We've transformed sales teams. We've done integrations and integrated sales teams. And so I had a lot of experiences during my career, some positive, some not so positive. And so I don't stand up here claiming to know all of the answers, but what I have had is a lot of experiences, made some progress along the way. And so my goal today is to share with you some of my learnings and observations as it relates to sales. I have had the opportunity to retire. I live in upstate South Carolina. I used to live in this area. Lived here for about 10 years. My kids are still in this area. My son lives down in Midtown, and my daughter lives here in Woodstock. So, as Lee mentioned, I am one of the NAV mentors. Work directly with Shalakay as well as a couple other companies. And then I also spent some time at Clemson University. It's 20-25 minutes down the road from me as a volunteer counselor for their career development center, helping students get their resumes in order and prepare for interviews and try to give them a glimpse of what the real world is like outside of the university. So with that, what we're going to talk about today is what is sales. My experience so far with the NAV program is a lot of great product ideas, a lot of great service ideas. Hypothetically, maybe you've got an engineer who's just designed this fantastic product. A lot of cool features, got some patents in there, and okay, now I want to go sell a lot of these things. What do I do? And you'll see the presentation that they're going to make to customers. You can almost design the product based on what they're sharing. And is that really what you want to do when you sell to the customer? Do you want to sell the technology and the features, or is it more about the benefits? And so that's kind of what we'll talk about today, is what is sales? And from my perspective, sales, what I've learned over time is sales is a process. I remember early in my career, I would interview some sales reps, and I would interview, a rep that's been in the top 10% 5 years in a row, one of the top performers. And I would ask them, what makes you better than your peers? What do you do as a sales professional that makes you stand out and allows you to be a top performer? Well, I just work harder than everybody else. Really? One, I would argue I don't think you work harder than me. And I think everybody would argue I don't think you work harder than me. So that's not a good answer. And what I've learned over time is it's not effort. And in fact, it's the opposite. If you can work smarter than everybody else, be more efficient, be more effective, you'll be a consistent top performer in sales. And what that means for me is I've learned to think about sales as a process. And my belief is when you have a process,
a couple things come from that. Processes are fairly easy to repeat. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm the only person in my company and I'm selling my product or my service, as I figure out what works and what doesn't work, maybe I add one salesperson, maybe I add 2 salespeople, maybe I already have 5 salespeople, I'm looking to go to 10 or 15. If I have a process of how to sell my product or my service, then I can train those other salespeople and teach them how to do it as well, so that they're not starting from scratch and making the same mistakes that I did. I can shorten that learning curve. At the same time, if sales aren't happening the way I want them to happen, if it's taking too long, or if I'm to close an opportunity, or if it's not efficient, if I'm just not having a success rate, I've got 10 opportunities and I'm only closing 1 or 2, and I need to get where I'm closing 6, 7, 8 of them. If I have a process, I can pick that process apart, focus in on what part of the process is really slowing me down, and I can improve it. So a process is much easier to improve, and a process is much easier to repeat. Okay? And that's how I think about it. Now, let me put it in context. My business, again, we were selling widgets. Okay, so a lot of the examples I give are going to be selling widgets. I don't think it's that different if you're selling a process. I was listening to and I said it on your presentation to the NAV group, as you expand your business, you may need to go sell the concept to new neighbors so that they'll let you use their land. So you're selling as well, just in a different concept. And I think all of this will apply no matter what you're selling. Okay? But the 2 words that you'll hear me reference are efficiency and effectiveness. When I'm selling something, I want to sell as much as I can, as fast as I can. Efficiency. And if I have 10 opportunities that I'm working on, 10 potential customers that I'm talking to, I want to close all of them. But in reality, I want to close 80% of them, not 20%. So that's effective. So I want to close as much new business as fast as I can. That's my goal. So where do we start? Marketing. And what I mean by that is, think about your product, think about your service, and think about what I call your right to win. What is your unique value proposition? And the key word here is value or benefit. We try to think about products, there's features, and there's benefits. I've seen a lot of salespeople present a product to somebody and they talk through all of the features. Got this coffee mug, you'll notice it's a bright yellow color. It's got a nice round, smooth handle, big base. It's large enough to fit a full 12 to 16 ounces of coffee. Yeah, it's a great mug. So, I didn't tell you why any of those features are important to you. I didn't tell you the benefit that it was going to bring to you. I've got a large cup of coffee here to hold at least 12, 14 ounces. I've got a nice round handle, so it's going to be comfortable in your hand, and it makes it easier to balance, so it's less likely that you're going to spill it. And you'll notice the base diameter is pretty wide. What that means is it's going to be stable on any surface that you put it on, so it's going to be less likely to spill. And if you spill coffee, it can burn, so you're going to reduce the risk of that happening. Now I just talked about the same features, but there are more of the benefits. It sounds simple, but when you're out there talking with a customer and you've got this sense of urgency and they've only got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's easy to fall into the trap of talking about all of the features as opposed to the benefits. And if you can still fall into the trap of, I'm going to tell you all the features and all the benefits of my product. In sales, we call that showing up and throwing. Okay? If you ask a couple of questions, well, what are you looking for in a coffee mug? What are you using today? How's that working for you? Well, they may just be using something that's tall and narrow and they're worried about it spilling over. Maybe it already did spill. Well, then I'm just going to focus my conversation on how big the base is and stability. I'm going to tailor my message and focus in on what's most important for that customer. So it starts with just asking yourself and challenging yourself, whatever it is that you're selling, what is the value or the benefit for the customer? What problem are you solving? Are you saving them money? Are you allowing them to increase safety so they don't spill their coffee? But you've got to understand what your value proposition is, what your key benefits are for that customer, and that's where you start. Because that, at the end, is what you're really selling, is the benefit that you're providing for that customer.
So from a sales process, there's a couple of different levels to this that we'll talk about. I'll talk about kind of high level, similar model that may apply depending on where you are with your business and with your organization. And then the second part is I'll get a little bit more granular. Maybe you're a little bit further down the road. Maybe you already have kind of a high level process in your mind. Maybe you've got some salespeople out there already. So it'll be kind of step 2, if you will, from a sales development process. And this is the high level one. This, I think, can apply to anybody. If I'm selling something, I break that sales process into 3 buckets. Am I targeting the right opportunity? Am I talking to the right person? And am I having the right conversation? And if you're out there selling today, and you're frustrated with the lack of progress, I'm just not closing enough business, I'm not meeting my sales target, it's going to fall into one of these buckets. Either you're not targeting the right opportunity, you're trying to sell your product. If I'm selling this coffee mug to somebody that doesn't drink coffee, or doesn't drink coffee or tea or a hot beverage, I'm probably not targeting the right opportunity. If I'm selling it to somebody, stop it. And so when you think about the right opportunity, you've got to think about bigger picture. In that, do you have an advantage? Does your right to win, does your benefit resonate with that opportunity, with that customer? Okay. The second one is, so let's assume we are targeting the right opportunity. The second one is, are we talking to the right person? If your business is selling one-to-one, odds are you're talking to the right person. Okay? In my industry, the hospital would buy the product. And maybe it was a physician preference. The general surgeon is the one that had the patient and replace the hernia mesh implant. They were the champion of my product. They were the one who was going to go, yes, I want to use your implant. But they weren't the sole decision maker. The operating room had to buy the product. They owned the budget. They owned the money. Nurses had to implement it. The purchasing team had all kinds of control because they didn't just want the hospital buying every device under the sun, so they tried to control it. Infection control had a hand in it. So as I'm going in, maybe there was a nurse that was passionate about hernia repair, and she would work with this doctor with problems, and the nurse was really, we need a new hernia implant. And so as a new sales rep, maybe I think that's my champion. But they're not going to be able to influence the decision. So in that situation, I was talking to the wrong person. They were a stakeholder, they could help me, but they weren't the champion. They weren't at the end of the day the one who was going to pound the table going, we need this mesh implant in our hospital. And so I would have to filter through that and make sure I'm not talking to somebody that's really helpful, that's really nice, and giving me some inside information. Those people bring value, but at the end of the day, they're not the right person that's going to make the purchasing decision. So if you're selling into something a little more complex, selling to organizations, it's important to understand that organization's buying process, who's involved in the buying process, who can say no to the buying process,
And most importantly, who is going to be your champion? Who is going to be the most influential individual to pounding the table saying, I want this product or I want this service? Okay. So now let's assume I'm targeting the right opportunity. I've figured out who my champion is, so now I'm talking to the right person. Now I need to make sure that I'm having the right conversation. That comes back when we come up with the coffee mug. I don't want to just show up and throw up. I don't want to focus my conversation on features. I want to talk about the benefits that it's going to bring to my champion. Maybe it's going to bring to that hospital. Maybe it's going to reduce the infection rates with regards to hernia repairs. Maybe it's going to save money based on what they have been spending for the hernia mesh implants, clinical outcomes. It depends. And within that, keep in mind we talked about stakeholders. When I'm talking to the doctor about hernia mesh implants, I'm going to talk about clinical outcomes. The benefits of using my mesh versus the competition as it relates to clinical outcomes and what that means for that doctor's patients. When I go talk to the purchasing person, the buyer, do you think they care about the clinical outcomes? Do you think they even know what we're talking about? No. I'm going to talk to them about the economic advantages for the hospital using my mesh implants. I'm going to tailor my message based on who I'm talking to in the buying process, focusing on the value and the benefits that my product and my service brings to them. Okay, so it goes back to really understanding that value proposition. And when I'm talking to somebody who's involved in the process, tailoring my message so that I'm talking about the value and benefit for the customer that's relevant to the individual that I'm talking to. This may, from a sales process perspective, this may be enough for where you are with your business right now. Maybe enough. If I'm just starting out, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm just trying to get traction and get my business growing, I may not need to focus on, I may not want to focus on anything more than this right now. And it's simple, it's easy to remember, it's easy to bring it. I've talked to 10 different opportunities. I haven't closed any of them in 6 months, or I've only closed 2 of them. It's frustrating. I felt like I should have closed 7 or 8 of them at this point. Okay. Well, break it down. Are you targeting the right opportunity? Is that what contributing to the lack of success? Or is it, no, I got the right opportunity. I'm targeting the right companies. I'm just not talking to that person. Or maybe you are. And maybe it's the wrong conversation. So now we're shifting gears, okay? And we're getting into a little bit like tier 2, if you will, around the sales process. And this is sales opportunity management. Okay, this is a little bit more advanced, but it's not overly complicated. And so guidelines around opportunities. So if I'm out there selling my hernia mesh, I'll keep using that as an example. And I've got 3 different hospitals that I'm talking to. Within that, I've got 3 different general surgeons that I'm talking to because that's my champion, right? Those 3 opportunities. And so I need to make, and each one of those hospitals may have similar but different purchasing processes. So each one is an opportunity. I have an opportunity to sell mesh at Northside Hospital, Woodstock. I have an opportunity to sell mesh at Memorial Hospital of Alpharetta. And I have another opportunity to sell my hernia mesh at Emory, downtown. Each one is an opportunity, okay? And I'm going to manage each one of those opportunities against the probability to close. Tom, okay, you got 3 good opportunities. You think you're going to close them? Well, I've had sales reps that absolutely, I'm closing every single one. The salespeople are so confident they can do anything, anytime, and I'm going to close every single one. And then you've got the other sales rep that's trying to manage expectations because they think the quote is going to go up if they tell me they're going to close the business up.
Amen.
I don't know. We got this, and we got any traffic, and this turn was and they sandbag. And somewhere in between the two is where it really is. And so process helps me manage that. Okay? And so I'm managing against a probability to close. Okay? What that forces is between those two reps, it forces a common language. The sandbag guy can't sandbag me, and the overly confident guy can't make me overconfident. Those are emotions. This allows me to make the process for managing sales opportunities objective and a little more fact-based. So this is just this, your sales funnel. You'll have a lot of opportunities. And as you make progress towards closing those opportunities, some of them fall to the wayside. Others move through the funnel. And as you can see on the left-hand side there, the blue squares, as they move through the funnel, as things get accomplished, the likelihood of that closing gets higher and higher. Okay? And keep in mind, this is for each product. And I'll give you an example. So the goal is providing that common language so that everybody's talking about sales. And this is when I say this is if you have sales reps. If I'm a sales manager, I would use this to manage the opportunities, because if I'm a sales manager, and maybe a business owner, so how many customers are we going to close this quarter? How many customers are we going to close between now and the end of the year? I want to know how we're going to finish. How do you forecast this? It's predicting the future. This makes it a little bit more objective. In my experience, it makes your forecasting a lot more accurate. 100%? No. 80, 90% accurate? Yes. Absolutely. So managing your sales funnel, managing each sales opportunity makes your forecast more accurate. And as you can imagine, forecasting something that's 20% likely to close, 40% likely to close, still highly inaccurate. Focusing on the ones that are 60, 80% to close, a lot more accurate. So as things move through the funnel, as things get accomplished, your accuracy and ability to forecast goes up.
I got a question.
Yeah.
You have like a go, no-go scenario where you say, you get to a certain, say, you got 5 hospitals. And I guess you're also assuming that how much does it cost to get people to 100%? And you go, okay, I've got 5 hospitals with the hernia implants in the Atlanta area. I know we're really only going to be able to close or give enough energy and effort and expenditure to close, let's say, 3 of them. You get to a point where you say, okay, we're going to have a go, no-go, and say, those 2 hospitals, either we're going to put on the back burner or look at them for next year. You do that, and how do you do that?
I see most of that in the top left corner. If I go into this hospital, let's say one of these hospitals, they have a sole source 3-year contract with a commitment level of 85%, where they're going to buy 85% of their mesh for the next 2.5 years from my competitor. I'm not targeting the right opportunity. I don't have a high confidence level. There's too much barrier there. But if I don't have that in my other hospitals, then those are better opportunities.
So you do that right, almost right up front before you start spending time even trying to figure out who the...
That's right. And this is in order. Am I targeting the right opportunity? If I'm not targeting the right, if it's not a good opportunity, I don't care if I'm talking to the right person. I shouldn't really be in there talking to anybody. Much less I'm focusing on the conversation. If it is a good opportunity, okay, now I move to the second step. So I screen out a lot of things on focusing on where am I going to be most effective most efficient. You know what? They don't have any contracts. And they're struggling with what they have right now. And my service is good for somebody that makes widgets versus provides another service. And they make widgets. Okay, I'm checking a lot of boxes. Feels like it's a good opportunity.
I think I touched on most of this. The bottom bullet here, keys to success, number 2, I think is really important. Opportunities are defined at a customer level. Each customer is an opportunity. You'll see definitions, I'll show you in a minute, for the 20%, 40%, 60%. That's defined by the product. Okay, so let me give you an example. If I'm selling my hernia mesh, what's in each one of these black boxes? For hernia mesh, the product, those deliverables, those milestones, those accomplishments are all going to be the same. Okay? And each opportunity is going to be each hospital that I'm targeting for hernia mesh. If I'm also selling knee implants, what's in each one of those boxes will be different. There will be different deliverables because selling a knee implant is different than selling hernia mesh. And so what I need to accomplish to move from 40% to 60% for a knee implant will be different than what I need to accomplish selling hernia mesh. Okay? But for each one of those, each hospital will be its own opportunity. So here we go. So if my salesperson comes to me, or if I'm out there selling, and I've gone into the hospital and I know the doctor that's really interested in my hernia mesh, and I got a good idea of what they're using today. I know the label. I got a doctor who's interested. I know they're using competitor A's mesh. I know that they do this many procedures. And I know they've had a couple of issues. It's an opportunity. I haven't seen anything that says I shouldn't be talking about it. Okay. Opportunity, it's early on, 20% confident I can close this. Now I've continued to call on that hospital. I've made my rounds. I've talked to other people. I've gotten smarter. I now know who else is involved in the purchasing process. I know that they buy new products through a committee decision. It's not just the doctor pounding the table. I know who's on that committee. And the doctor has said, yeah, I'd like to try your mesh. I'd like to try it a couple times before I commit. Okay, I've made progress. Now I'm in the second box. Now I've got 40% confidence that I'm going to be able to close this. Things are still going well, and I'm making progress, in terms of being able to sell my product. A few months later, now the doctor's tried it a few times, had success with their patients. Patients seem to have good clinical outcomes. I've talked with each one of the members of the committee that will vote for or against my product, help them understand the value and the benefit that my product's going to bring to the hospital and to their patients. And my champion has said, I really like this. I'm going to take it to the purchasing committee. I'm going to pound the table and say, I want the hospital to buy this, and I want to keep using it. Now I'm 60% sure. Okay? I'm still making progress. Takes it to the committee. Hey, committee voted in favor. We're going to convert to your mesh. You just got to get the PO, got to get the documents signed. As we all know, that can take a long time and things can fall apart. Even when they'd said, we're going to buy your product, until you have the purchase order, you haven't closed the deal. I've even learned that the first order doesn't mean you've closed the deal. When they place the second order or the third order, now you know that you've closed the deal.
Because they can place their first order and never order again. And so think about what the deliverable, what the milestone needs to be. And that's the key part here. Each one of these milestones that allowed me, I accomplished something that allowed me to move from 40% to 60%, 60% to 80%. I accomplished something. I got it done. I didn't start something. I don't go to 60% when they say, I'm going to evaluate your product. I need the successful evaluation to be over. I need to know that it went well, not that they just said we're going to start. Starting something doesn't do anything for me. Successfully completing it does. And so whatever your milestones are, whatever needs to happen, think about it, it needs to be something that gets completed. It's absolutely critical. Okay. And then kind of the last thing here, salespeople use a lot of cliches, a lot of sayings. Inspect what you expect. If you're managing a sales funnel like this, think about, you have salespeople, well, how many opportunities would you like them to have in the funnel? What do you think is realistic? And that's at the top. That's at the 20%, the 40% level. How big are those opportunities? Do you want them chasing, I don't want you to chase anything but the whales. I want to see every opportunity be at least $100,000. Or, you know what, that's fine, but sometimes often the $100,000, the whale account takes a long time to close. 9, 12 months, sometimes longer. I can go close 4 $20,000 opportunities in 3 months each. So sometimes I can close a lot of small to medium-sized opportunities in less time than one big whale. So it's not always smart to get excited about the huge opportunity. So you need to set that expectation with your salespeople. And if it's just you for now, this is what you're learning. You'll chase a whale and go, God, that took forever. You'll close some smaller ones and go, well, I can close smaller ones a lot faster. It gets back to that effectiveness and that efficiency. And as you reflect on that and think about the process, then you've got something that can be improved and you've got something that can be repeated. And lastly, there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of sales models, sales processes that are out there. Tons of books that you can read. I'm kind of partial to the one in the middle, the Challenger Sale. It's driven by data. It is across all different kinds of industries, service, and products. So it's not a healthcare model by any means. It's an easy read. It's simple to follow. I utilized that at the last business that I managed and found it to be very effective. But there's tons of models out there you can read and study. It talks about creating your value proposition, what you write to win, talks about sales as a process, talks about how you can tailor the message, etc. So I hope that was helpful. I will open it up for any questions, comments, suggestions that you might have.
Who's got a question?
I've got a couple.
Fire away.
First of all, in the sales process, where you're talking about using, where you're talking about maybe that initial sale isn't actually completed. I didn't really see that on your timeline or your scale of completion on your when you broke it down. Do you have some way of qualifying beyond that 100%, or is there something in front of that 100% for your particular sales process?
Great question. So I use that funnel to ensure that we're closing business. And the way I would manage it is I really focused in on, I glance to make sure that my sales reps had a lot of opportunities in the 20 to 40% range. But then I would really focus in on, for example, this time of year, I want to focus in on the 80% and higher, maybe the 60% and higher that are going to close. by year end. I focused in on the shorter term opportunities to make sure that we close the ones that were right in front of us, that we, to use a sports analogy, got it across the goal line. Okay? We would then, and I think this answers your question, we would then follow those opportunities and those customers to ensure that they did place multiple orders, that it would stick. And I would track back and see 12 months later, okay, the rep told me that this opportunity from the beginning was about $100,000 annually. And we closed it on time, closed it at the end of June. Well, did they do $50,000? Are they on, is the run rate heading towards $100,000? Or did that $100,000 opportunity in the long run turn out to be $60,000? I'm not disappointed with that. I would just talk with my team to go, okay, we need to get a little bit more accurate on what the real value is. Does that answer your question?
So it's almost like you've got a second funnel after the first funnel is complete. It's sort of a maintenance, like, and so then you're tracking that closed sale through another sales process that tracks your maintenance on.
That's right. Yeah. Because predictability is critical. Ability to forecast, okay, how are you going to finish the year? And then I would get that question right now all the time. And then later this afternoon, I go, so what are you going to do next year? How much sales are you going to do next year? Well, I need to know what I'm going to close this year to answer the first question. And then I need to know the carryover effect and how much added value am I going to see next year to answer the second question. And I'm measured and compensated on both answers. So they need to be accurate.
Thank you. I can pass the mic unless, if anybody's got another question, or I could ask my second question.
Fire away.
So in the example that when you pointed at us and when you were starting up, so we're talking to our neighbors. We have neighbors who are interested who have just awful spaces, right? I mean, who aren't great for us. So it's 100% sale, but it's about a 20% maybe that we even want to do it. But it's the here and now, right? And so we try to balance that. And so how do you handle that in your sales process? And maybe it's not the same because it's a widget thing. But let's say you're going to a service, moving into a service sales process.
I think I hear what you're saying. I think that gets back to the top left box.
Right.
Is that the right opportunity? The customer may be interested, but if they don't have the land, or it's not usable, or it's going to require significant investment from your side, money and or time to make it usable, and you've got 4 other neighbors who are maybe not as interested, but their land is better.
Right.
You have to decide from an efficiency and effectiveness standpoint, what is the best use of your time? Is it better to get their land up and running the way you want it? Or would you be more productive convincing the other neighbors that are kind of interested to be more interested? And where will you be more effective?
Yeah, or even convincing that not ideal situation that they could maybe somehow be our champion in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Or if they're that passionate about it, tell them to get their land in order.
Yeah.
If they're that passionate, have them make the commitment. We will work with you. And what I need you to do is do this with your land. When you get there, let me know, and we're working with you. And while they're doing that, you're focusing on the other 3, convincing them that they want to be part of the program too. Because if they're that passionate about it and they're committed, they'll make it easy.
I mean, one of the things that you're reminding me of is, one of the things that Tom's reminding me of is that there's an assumption here in the discussion so far that everyone is paying the same. at some level, let's say, signing up Emory, Emory is known for paying the least of anybody out there. They're real tight on their budgets, and they're going to tell them right up front. I'll use an example. You're not going to make any money on us, but we'll talk to everybody. We'll be a great reference for you. That may be the tipping point there, is to say, boy, if I could use Emory's name, if I could use their logo on my marketing materials, or you'll have Emory maybe say, you can't tell anybody we use your product. Well, the opportunity is very different then. I may not want to spend any time if I'm not going to make any money and I can't use their name. So there's a balancing act with what that opportunity really means. And you also reminded me of that famous, infamous interview question for young salespeople. You go into an office and you got the sales manager sitting across from you, and they hand you the pen and they say, "Sell me the pen." And that's the interview, right? Because what they want to know is, are you going to talk all about the features of that pen? Are you going to ask me enough questions to figure out how I might use that pen and sell me the benefits of the pen, what that might mean to me? And it's a great interview question. It's a mistake for young salespeople not to know the answer to that before they walk in. Yeah, honestly. Ask me how I know that.
I kind of have a twofold question, and I don't know if it'll be very clear. The first part is that as I look at the sales process, as I look at my own business, trying to look at it for my sales team, I see room for improvement, but it almost feels a little overwhelming how to break each one down into these steps. Like figuring out lead management, figuring out how does it resonate, doing the customer's buying process. So I feel like there's a data collection that has to be done to figure out what each customer is needing. So you feel like you're almost sort of a wall of too many steps to figure this out. So is there a trick to collecting this data to create this sales process? That's the first question. And the second question is, when I get hit with the sales process for my vendors, and I'm noticing some of these steps that are happening with my vendors, it can almost be overwhelming to me, almost too much pressure to me, and they give me too much information sometimes, and in a time when that information overload. So as I'm looking at the sales process and thinking, well, how do I use this in a way that is easy to digest for my customers, is there a process to make it simpler? Like this, the 3 steps of getting all the decision makers involved. Like the idea of trying to get that information and like hound them for the information or bring a form to get it, and they don't put it on there, it seems like a little bit of a hurdle to overcome. Is there a simplified process for smaller companies?
So great questions. For me, filling in these boxes, how do I define the right target? Where will I be most successful? And if I am talking to the right opportunity, who do I talk to? My salespeople tell me that. And in particular, I focus on the good ones. Or if I have sales managers that are managing reps that have good reps and bad reps, etc., they've seen a lot of experience. But I let my salespeople, hey, what makes a good target? Who's a bad target? They'll know.
And how do they find out?
Yeah, how do they find out?
They ask the customer, how do I sell to you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how does the process here work? And you'll be amazed at how people will over there talk to you about that. But as opposed to you trying to figure it out by some anecdotal data, ask the question.
What is your purchasing process? Who's involved?
I'm new to your hospital. How do I sell to you?
They want you to know that because they want you to follow them. They don't want you to come in and be a cowboy and go through back doors and disrupt the process and get somebody excited about a product and they got that contract that I mentioned and they're never going to buy it. That frustrates everybody in the hospital, especially your champion. And it'll ruin other opportunities that you might have there. And so, going in just asking questions, what is your purchasing process? What are you using right now? How's that working for you? What do you really like about it? What's not working well for you? What about this? What about that? You're narrowing it down so that you can tailor your message. I'll give you an example. I had a wonderful customer experience. This is a long time ago. I was buying my first car. Walk on the lot. Sales rep comes up to me, and my experience with salespeople is car salespeople is they often show up at the door.
They tell you everything about the mileage. They tell you about all the safety features. They show you the trunk and how much space is in the trunk. They point out that there's a spare tire. You know, they just hit every feature known to man. I walked in and said, "What are you looking for in a car?" I said, "Well, I want a manual transmission, sunroof, leather interior, nice stereo, that's fun to drive." Guy goes, "Okay, come with me." You sit in the car and he goes, "Manual transmission, sunroof, leather interior," and he goes, "Bose stereo. Want to go for a test drive?" And that was it. You know, he listened to me. I told him what was important to me, and he only pointed out to me what was important to me. He tailored his message just for me. So it's when you do that, I felt like he listened to me, and it was not overwhelming. It was rewarding.
And sometimes your customers lie to you. And so sometimes they don't. When you ask a question, they'll tell you the truth. And that sales rep that said those things to him, right away he may hear it and go, "Well, wait a minute. The summer really isn't that important." And all of a sudden you start focusing in. But by listening, you can tailor that message directly to them.
And if it's a bigger organization, those other stakeholders, by asking them similar questions. A doctor, for example, "Well, I use this mesh and this works really well, I like this," and I go talk to one of his nurses and no. What he struggles with is we've had 3 patients who've had this problem, so now I'm learning a little bit more. And I'm learning about, I know what my product does, I know the problem they're having, so I know the benefit and the value that I'm going to bring. This happens over time. It's an evolution, and that is separate. Just talking to a lot of people, asking questions, learning, connecting the dots. What sales isn't most of the time is one and done. One and done. Showing up, having a conversation, walking out with the PO. I haven't seen that. Some retail sales customer comes in and is showing the suit, buy the suit, but generally speaking, things are going to be a little bit more complex.
I really like this slide where you had the 3 books. I'm not familiar with the one that you said you liked the best, so I'm going to check that one out. But as this gentleman, what's your name?
Bronson.
Bronson, when you were speaking, my experience with the 2 books on the left and the right were like flashing back to me, because it's about having a dialogue where you ask the right questions at the right time in the right order, and you hopefully spend about 5 to 15% of your time asking the right questions at the right time and getting the other person engaged to tell you what's most important to them. Because if you go in, like, I love what he said, is Tom said, the ineffective salespeople, they just go in and spray all over the place, hoping that something hits a target, instead of just letting the suspect or the prospect tell you what's important to them. It's really that easy. And if you had a good salesperson, a good car salesperson, it's comfortable. And it's just like you're hanging out with a friend and things click. But when someone's pushy or manipulative, it's like the dog that knows they can't trust a person, that those flags go flying up. So, who's the author of the book in the middle?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's your book.
Not my book.
Up at the top. Up at the top.
Oh, okay. That's too long.
So let's say you touched on something there. If you approach sales from a transactional perspective, I think you're going to struggle. If you have a service or a product and you understand the value and the benefit of that, there is nothing perfect out there. So any potential customer that you're talking to is always looking for a better way to do something. A doctor is always looking for a better way to provide patient care. They're always looking for a way to do a shorter procedure. A hospital is always looking for a way to save money. They're always looking for ways to improve, do something better, have a better experience, etc. All of us are. And if you can come in from a very genuine, authentic perspective and present your product and your services, this is how it's going to help you. This is the benefit that it brings. And if you don't know that, I don't know what that is yet, that's fine. That's where you ask questions. What are you doing now? How's that working for you? What do you like? What do you dislike? Is it important that you save money? How important is that to you? What about this? What about that? Now you're asking these questions, they're planned questions that lead, if you get the right answers, that lead to your product or service. At some point you can go, well, I have a solution for it. Based on what you just told me, I've got a solution. If their answer is lead is like, I got nothing. Not the right opportunity. Move on. Don't try to fit the square peg in the round hole. I asked the right questions. I got answers that just don't resonate. I don't have a right to win here. I'm going to cut bait and move on. Find the next opportunity. And you ask those questions, and yeah, you know what? My product can help make their life easier. My product can help them achieve their financial goals. My product can help the patient outcomes. And if you approach it from an authentic, genuine perspective, and then think about it as a process so that you can continue to refine it and improve it and become more effective and more efficient, I think that's where you're going to get traction. So, appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, and I hope you all have walked away with something that you can put in place right away. Great questions, great conversation, and want to just wrap us up, so I respect your time here. Just want to encourage you to stay connected with us through our social media channels so that you can learn about our Fresh Start Mornings and other offerings that we have. I'd love for you to check out our website. There's a plethora of information there. CharityGA.org, and then specifically if you want to learn more about just Fresh Start Mornings, you can check it out there. Would love for you to click on our QR code so that we can add you to our database and so that we can stay connected to you. If you know of a business that would like to present, because Fresh Start is kind of a two-part, where we had Tom today that did a topic on something that's pertinent to small businesses and entrepreneurs, but we also have entrepreneurs present and share their business, share their story, but also share their challenges. And we do it in an open forum just like this, where they pose their 3 to 4 questions, and then we help provide solutions to those. So if you are out and about and you know somebody, please connect them to our office, and to me specifically, I'd love to see about bringing them in 24. And that wraps us up, but before you go, I almost forgot last time, I'm not going to forget this time. Tom, I'm going to let you draw 2 names. Okay, we have Mike, Cena. Hey.
First.
It's a verse.
Got a man out. And let's see. Oh, Mark Caldwell.
Nice. Look at you. You are proud owners. Went to Central Stanley.
Thank y'all for joining us this morning, and I just encourage you to share with other people. On the first and third Wednesday, on the 15th, we're going to be at Reformation Brewery, where we're going to do bookkeeping and budgeting with Victoria Stanley, who's one of our circuit members here with Breakaway Advising. So come learn how to sell it, and then learn how to manage it through your budget. And then we're going to wrap up the year on December 6th right here at the circuit with the Little Sober Bar with Brittany Hyde. She's going to come and share her concept and share her challenges. So we need a room full of people to help her with solutions. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Probably
What got you?
Short and a lot of tight. He just started doing account study, so actually I got my personal. I don't have a relative to get a
Yeah, we Well,